Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your girl My Desire. Of course, the one and only Jamal is here.
What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, we are back. First of all, honey, they done had us back to back. Okay, come through.
I mean,
You
I
know.
think they like us.
I think they like us.
I
I
think they
will
like us.
agree. I will agree. Listen, welcome back to Big Go Bell Media, and we are here to give you the full spoiler review of the entire season of The Best Man, the final chapters. Now, you all know that we have been following this since 1997. I believe the first Best Man came out, and then 2013 Best Man Holiday came out, and of course at the end of Best Man Holiday we had Quincy with the phone call telling everybody that your boy is getting married. Okay,
Yes.
this entire season did a lot of roller coaster shenanigans. It was messy, it was dramatic, it was messy again. Okay,
but there was a lot of togetherness too.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of support.
Absolutely, a lot of support and just a lot of love. Also, a lot of love and friendship. So let's dive in. Episode 1 had no idea what to expect, but child, your girl Shelby just came out with a bang, like just with a bang. Okay, so we have, of course, let's run them down again so everybody remembers. We have Harper and Robin.
Yep.
Jordan is single.
Yep.
Lance lost Mia. Quentin has a new boo. Merch and Candace are together, and then we have Shelby, who is also single. And they do a pretty good job of picking up where they left off, so to speak, right?
Absolutely.
Lance is grieving something serious, and I quote, when it's asked how he's grieving, he says, "Pussy, lots of pussy."
I mean, I appreciate the I appreciate the honesty and the fact that he has the respect of his wife and children to at least go to a hotel.
Hello, he did.
Because they went out. Not only is that his source, but he's like going through. Man, and his beard is unkept.
Yeah.
He looks like he's doing experimental drugs.
Season, actually.
He just looks very, very I look like what I've been through.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say that, unfortunately, when it comes to a man grieving, they don't use very many healthy outlets. I mean, so the same can be said for some women, you know what I mean? But we know that sometimes when it comes to men, for sure, sex is one of those things that they go to first. If it's not sex, sometimes it's a strip club, weird addictions, gambling, things of that nature. So for Lance, it happens to be sex, and his friends, Harper, he's been standing Harper up, one too many times for lunch. So Harper gets merch, and they end up going to the hotel to find him there with two what seem to be twins.
You think?
And so? I can't remember. Probably not.
I don't think they were twins.
Probably not. But he's like, "Hey, man, like, listen, we understand that you're hurting, but not like this. Like, Mia wouldn't approve, of this." And they invite him to what would be Quentin's secret location wedding, right?
Absolutely.
And he decides that he does want to go. Now, the scene does open up with a little bit of comedy, right? Because Lance is
butt ass naked,
right? so you get a little bit of that, but
he's like, "Would you put that away?"
Yeah, I think it's a very real depiction of what most men would probably lean towards when it comes to the grief of, especially of a partner and a spouse.
Yeah, but in that issue, like everyone grieves differently, you know what I'm saying? And so this is just his coping mechanism as of right now. However, it is a little bit much. But here's the thing, though, how he's with the extremes of losing Mia. You see Shelby acting a fool when she's on Watch What Happens Live with Andy, finding out that Quentin's getting married. And she was like, I mean, we're friends, you know, I don't care.
Right.
Until she goes ape shit.
Yes.
And goes to this man, like, ladies and gentlemen, because some of y'all,
yes,
I'm just saying, and it ain't just the gays either. I'm just saying,
speak on
you don't come up to nobody's job. It show your whole ass. Whole ass.
First of all, let's talk about how she dipped out the nail salon. She didn't pay. I think the whole scene is hilarious. She gets in her car, forgets she's being recorded, remembers she's being recorded, hops out the ma'am.
Leaves the door open. And this is supposed to be New York City. Like, first of all, let's keep it a buck. That's not happening in New York, of all places, number one. Number two, you're not getting that car back when you come back if you left it open. I'm just saying. But to come up in that man's job and just beat his ass like that, I was like,
and then proceeds to say, okay, and so what? Like, what that mean? We're just really good friends. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting. And of course, you know, she's doing Shelby shit, right? Harper, woo child. Now Harper is getting a movie offer.
Yes.
She turned the first book, which turned everybody's lives upside down,
unfinished business,
into a movie. And of course, my first thought is, oh, what's like who? Okay, I mean, it is some years later, but we know the trauma and the drama that first book caused.
Absolutely.
What are your first thoughts when you hear him saying that he's got the movie offer?
My first thoughts actually was, after the ass beating you got off the first book, you want to run it back and add a visual to it. Like, this is what you think is a smart idea. Oh, I bet. Like, if you like it, I love it. But I will say this: Harper, being the creative that he is, and from going through the trauma and the drama of reliving it when the book came out, I do appreciate the fact that he at least went to everyone and told them, hey, I've been offered this opportunity, rather than how when the book was released, it was a surprise. Like, everybody knew he was coming out with a book, but they did not know what it was about. And that it was pretty much a biography of their lives in college. So I did appreciate that, but it just did not seem like the smart thing to do, because it's hard. It's one thing when you have the fantasy of how these characters are to appear when you're reading it on paper.
Right.
It is a whole different abstract situation when you put paper to film, and now you have these people and these mannerisms and these the way that they come off and the way that they look, their personalities, their attitudes. To see that
is different.
Yeah, you don't know how somebody gonna take that.
Right, absolutely. So of course Harper is thinking about the movie. Robin is supporting the movie. Robin is now doing I guess kind of a farm to table, farm fresh situation with food. And he's telling her that she needs help. They also have their daughter Mia, who's now a couple years older, because obviously this is taking place years later. Jordan is single again, and she just says it wasn't for her, you know, which is a lot of speculation. We'll get there later on. I'm probably gonna be tipsy by then, but and then of course we have finally got to see who Quentin is actually engaged to, which happens to be
Xiomara.
Yes, Xiomara. But who is that in real life?
Nicole Ari Parker.
Yeah, Nicole Ari Parker. And so her character was it was a lot. It was a lot, and I'm not really sure I fully really I think it just, I don't know, it just kind of seemed off, you know.
Too much. If too much was a person.
Yeah. Yeah, too much was definitely a person. Even on this first episode, we get them actually getting to the island where Q and Ziamar are going to get married, right? And so Lance is there. He's flirting with the damn hostess.
But before that, he's smashing off the driver in the car after everybody get out. And let's not forget, Shelby is not invited. So out of the whole crew, could you imagine like having a friend circle? And yeah, you got some friends. Let me not tell my business. But you know, some friends, and not that it was me, but I'm just saying, you know how some friend groups, you might have some people that might have been in an entanglement or two within each other. But y'all done move past that. But could you imagine having something that big and one of your friends from the crew does not get invited? Like,
yeah, it's gonna be feeling some kind of way for sure. So we have everybody arriving to the island. They're really excited. Merch and Candace are excited because they've opened up 2 new schools. They also have 2 daughters, one who deals with anxiety. So they're doing that. She has an award that they're getting ready to win. Robin is thoroughly enjoying herself, so much so we almost think that she's getting ready to like move and not go back home at this point, because she really seems to be, just enjoying where she's at in that space. Harper is the best man, and so Harper is just making sure, Q, are you sure? Are you ready? Is this the one? What you're feeling? Because something seemed off. They're getting ready to embark on this new journey, and as his friend, they're like, yo, like, are you sure? Because this ain't the Q I remember. You know what I'm saying?
He ain't smoking weed no more. He not a womanizer. He's so like zen and peaceful. But also, we gotta talk about, so Harper being the best man, we've always seen Merch and Q so close together, but as we learned that Harper is the best man, we also find out that Merch is in his feelings about it because he wants to be the best man, and it's funny because anybody who got a close-knit friend group, and that there's, everybody got a friend that they're closer to than the rest of the group, and you see that dynamic off, and it's just like, what? So that was hilarious to me.
It was, because he was doing those little pokes, those little jabs, and it was starting to wear for sure.
Like, as the best man, you should do this.
Right. And so, of course, fast forwarding, but not skipping anything, the one person that Harper's, of course, worried about telling about the movie is Lance. He tells Lance about the movie. Lance seems to be okay with it. Then they meet up at the table. All shit goes to hell. Where Lance gets upset, he leaves. Then Candace is upset, and she's talking to Merch, and he's like, well, maybe I will, in regards to if he wants to be best man so bad, why doesn't he marry Q, which is something that Candace remarks. But in the midst of all that and the ring ceremony that they're getting ready to have with tattoos and whatnot, comes Shelby, unwelcomed, uninvited, and loud as fuck.
Gotta love it. Mind you, all of their family is there. His father,
everybody,
all of it. And this is a new property too that we learned that his father has acquired along with this is supposed to be an unveiling moment.
Right.
For them.
So of course, as we run into episode 2, we're excited because they left us on a cliffhanger with Shelby showing up, and Shelby brings nothing but the mess and the drama. So they get Q is astounded, is shocked, appalled, and they get to doing their usual quarreling, and she shows up acting all rude and whatnot, and Ziamara, the soon-to-be wife, comes over and calls her Shelly. Now, ma'am, you know my damn name, but okay, I'm gonna let you have it. Lance is having dreams about Jasmine, which is the concierge that he met while he's there. And while Harper is there, he's still getting a call from his agent, like, yo, listen, you should really do this movie. But Harper is saying he wants the blessings of his friends, which is what you touched on earlier, that he really wants to make sure he does this the right way.
Mm-hmm. And and I think that's most important because, like I said, we seen how it affected him when he wrote the first book, and even how guarded Lance was to let him back in off the second, off the Best Man Holiday when he's coming with a follow-up book, and they want him to use, his connection with Lance as a way in, and it really speaks to how much at this point. Let me mention that. At this point, because we're going to touch on it later, how much he cares about his friends' feelings as this movie is being made. But one thing we did leave out, Shelby and Q smash.
Ah, yes, they did.
Right after all that argument,
they
smashed that same night. And I'm gonna just call her CC because I ain't got time to be saying CMR like that. Like, I ain't trying to roll my tongue too much. I'm not. Shorty, she's just so carefree with it. Like, go ahead, be with your little friends. And that's where, as you're talking, as you touched on the whole thing with the with Lance and the dreams that he's having after making this connection with
Jasmine.
There you go. Thank you, Jesus. We see that also Jordan has now met someone who's trying to pique her interest.
He has Mr. Chocolate.
Jesus.
Chocolate hunk. Okay.
With the snapper.
Because she's been working the entire trip since she's gotten there. She hasn't taken a moment to turn her phone off and disconnect. And so he's telling her, like, hey, maybe you should just not work. But Jordan is Jordan, and she will work, so that's what she's doing. But she does meet somebody who piques her interest, for sure, which I think is, which is good.
On the island, yes.
So let's talk about how Q, obviously, again, we stated that Harper is the best man. Meanwhile, Harper has given his responsibilities to Merch in the midst of Merch and Candace having a come to Jesus moment, saying, hey, listen, like, you're not the best man. You need to be here with me. Harper comes through because now he has a new assignment, which is to keep eyes on Shelby, right? Because she's a ticking time bomb. He shows up and he tells Merch, can you find the scribblers? And Merch,
But we're skipping something, though, because I want to touch on this real quick because it was hilarious. The ayahuasca.
Yes.
Because isn't that before the strippers?
No. I just wrote that he was getting
yeah.
But go ahead.
So this is what, day 2 or day 3? Day 2.
Day 2.
So they go to this place on the island, and they're to meet this shaman because Quincy says Quentin. Yes. And Quentin says, she's opened me up to all of these things. I'm thinking it was shrooms at first, but of course we see it's this ayahuasca drink, and all of them are taking it and having adverse reactions to it. Shelby literally gets the shits. That probably was my favorite part of that episode because the way that they lunched out off of that trip that they took,
all of them,
oh my god, it was so hilarious. But we see that it awakens something new in Candace because she's now like, I like this feeling, and she's having to come to Jesus moment with herself because she's like, I should take on this. I should do this. Because she's thinking about her future in academia and the school and everything like that. And Robin is thinking about, the motherland and doing her food and her farm to table. Because what we learn at the ring ceremony is that, when Robin went off on this walk on the island the first night, she meets this chef who makes all this food. And she now wants to come and do the same thing. So everyone's having somewhat of an awakening moment under this ayahuasca trip.
Right.
And
Harper is doing receipts, right? He's saying that's not enough or that's too much, something of the sort. And then he has a typewriter kind of sound to him. So yeah. And Jordan realizes that she should actually take time for herself.
And try to get that man. And then, that's when, it leads into, as you were saying, about the whole thing with merch, getting the strippers and everything like that coming through. One thing I will say that I appreciate about this series is that, what we see jump from the movie to this series is, I love the sisterhood between the ladies, because remember, Candace and Shelby could not stand each other in the movie, but now all of them have like a tight-knit relationship, and it's actually beautiful. So I'm gonna let you take it for the bachelor party and what you think, being the island girl that you are.
Well, I'll say this. I do really appreciate that moment that Q and Shelby share while after having the trip, where, they talk and he says that you never wanted anything more than sex. Well, she says you never wanted anything more than sex. And he says, well, that's all you showed me. You never let
That's all you gave me, yeah.
Right. You just, you kept this mask on, you kept this wall up. And she said, well, whatever, have fun at your wedding, which I think is something that people really need to really talk about. And maybe perhaps we'll do a second kind of quick review of tidbits that we want to share with you all, because we don't want to keep you hostage for too long. So we're trying to go through 8 episodes, and it's a lot.
So much.
But yeah, so of course, Merch gets the strippers, hits one in the face, right, by accident. They come in doing their thing for a little bit, and boom, here comes Candace saying, I got a surprise for y'all. Welcome. And here comes Shelby, as usual, coming through with the hot fire, showing us that even at 50, because they are all of these actors and actresses are in their 50s, that you can still throw down, because she definitely did her thing. So shout out to her.
Yes.
And she gives Quentin the dance of a lifetime, and she says, you want me. Like, why? You just say my name. I just don't do this. And after she gives him the dance, she leaves and she texts him. She says, meet me at 1 a.m. at the adult cabana, right? And so, of course, the fellas have never seen Shelby like this. They're all hooting and hollering, having a good old time. But then,
because Quentin is looking like how Terrence looked when Destiny Child gave them that lap dance on the BET Awards.
Listen, hello?
He's getting his life. Side note, did you know she was actually a trained dancer at first?
I did not know that, but I heard once we saw the interview that they did, like a little snippet that they did. So she's got the juice.
And she thick. I'm sorry. Shorty thick. And I did not know just how thick she was. But yeah, moving on. Sorry.
Harper is still asking Q whether or not, like, you sure you want to do this? And then Harper shows up because he's trying to take his best man duties, to heart. He shows up at the cabana and confronts Shelby, tells her that he bought her a flight home.
Yeah.
Ziamar shows up and she says, we're 2 adults, we can talk this out, and tells Shelby to stop, that he's chosen her. And she's the only one fighting for this, and so she should just leave. Her flight info is in her phone. And so I think this scene is very interesting because Ziamar, was like, oh, you're making a fool of yourself, and this and that and third. And I think that when you are in love and you love somebody, you are a fool. And I mean that in like one of the best ways possible, because you really, when something is happening so drastic, we know people that show up at other people's weddings and stand up when if you have anything to say, speak now, forever hold your peace, or any kind of situation. And so while it may not be right, I think sometimes that feeling gets the best of us and we act out like how Shelby is acting out. And so of course she talks to Kennedy, her daughter, and then proceeds to, the next day, we see the next day happening in this episode, she's at the airport. And Harper and Jordan show up at the beach to Q, at the what's going to be the altar, and says, hey, she's gone, and he's
Yeah.
like, nah, she not gone. She gonna pop out of the bushes somewhere. He's
Mhm.
nervous, and I can tell that he's not nervous about her popping out, but that he's nervous that they said that she's gone, that she's no longer fighting for him. And Harper says, you want to go to the airport and make sure she's gone? And he's like, yeah, well, we know that's not why he's gone, but
Come on.
they get there. Now, did this scene go down the way you thought it would? Because this is a huge scene. This is like really major. So did this go down the way you thought it would?
Yes, absolutely. I will say this: I did not expect for her to leave and actually go to the airport, but I did expect them to end up getting married, because you can see that animalistic attraction towards each other. And let's keep it a buck. As much of a jackass that Quentin likes to come off as, because he's so arrogant and sure of himself, he actually has such a good heart.
Yeah.
And he does love hard. He just has not the best ways of using his words. But you see him come to the airport and like chew her out and go and this and that, only to confess his love for her. And she finally confesses it too and says that she loves him. And he tells her, she pretty much puts her foot down and was like, beg. Like, I'm not, no, well, she doesn't tell him to beg. She's like, I'm not about to do this with you.
Right, because he wouldn't tell her that he loved her. So he was like, so what she says, she's like, so what does this mean? What does this mean? And he's like, you know what it means. And he screams, trust you, because this is how their banter has been throughout the entire, course of their relationship. Is like, it's been hostile. And he's saying, you show up when I don't want you to. You're always there when I think that I've gotten rid of you. And like, something in me just can't, I don't know who I'd be without you. And so she turns back around to board the flight. Of course, cameras are rolling now. And then he gets on one knee and he said, all right, damn it, I'm on two knees. And he says, I love you. Please don't leave me. And of course, we see them kiss, and then we see them kissing at the wedding.
Yes.
And everybody is like, wow, this is okay. It's about time. We've seen it coming. I'm glad y'all seen it too. Harper gets his nod about the movie. Everybody has now said that they give it their blessing, and then we have the Q and Shelby giving the call to Kennedy to tell Kennedy that they got married. But what he doesn't know is that he's actually Kennedy's biological father. So
didn't see that coming.
Boom to that. I didn't either. So episode 3, we have them fast forwarding through the years. We have Jordan getting a really great job, or getting the top spot in her career. Harper has now released commercials, so to speak, for the movie. Not commercials, but like they know
promo and everything, right? Pre-production.
Q and Shelby have the hotel, Spivey Resorts. Merch and Candace doing really good with the schools. Candace doing her research about marijuana and other substances that can help with anxiety and things of that nature. Who am I missing? Robin. Her food service is taken off, right? So Merch, Candace, we got everybody, right? Yeah. So
Lance is getting better. Lance
is getting better. Yes, because Lance did not show up at the ayahuasca. He was kind of disconnected. But then the woman definitely, let's touch on Lance real quick, because like I said, we're not trying to hold y'all hostage, but we're going to do our best to get you guys out of here in like an hour and a half. Lance had been doing some questionable things while on the trip, right? Sleeping with various women.
Showing up to a public pool naked.
Right. And then finally the woman, Jasmine, confronts him, and she's like, listen, like, if you would just take in this beauty, you would understand why they chose this place. So he does take a moment for himself to actually do that. He goes jogging with Jasmine. They make a connection, but she has to tell him that she's engaged. And then
not to mention, he can't get it up.
Not to mention he can't get it up because he's trying to get some mama wanna, which It's hard to forget
which works. Just disclaimer, it works. Go to DR. It works. I got 2 bottles
of that in my phone.
Listen. I'm sorry, but they call that the liquid Viagra. It's from Dominican Republic. It works. It works.
I hope y'all taking notes, y'all, because yeah. So that's Lance, okay. So now we're gonna get back into episode 3. So like I said, they're doing a fast forward of what everybody is going through. Lance is attempting to do commercials, failing miserably at these commercials, but he's trying something new because he's not doing football. He's also trying to help his son LJ, who's a really good athlete at this point. Harper shows Robin a new house in the Upside, right? And they currently live in Harlem. She's not happy about it. She expresses her feelings about wanting to be in the community, wanting to be with her own people. And I definitely understand that. And I think that it needs to happen to have a conversation around when we've gotten to a certain place, wanting to move into these other areas and whatnot. But they don't really have a conversation about it at that point. There is just that so much. He's saying that this is what he's considering, what he wants to do.
He's pushing his opinion onto her.
Right. And then, of course, we have Jordan getting dragged on the Twitter.
So here's the thing about being that HB or NIC on the job. Everybody looks for you to be a savior, but there is a famous quote, "My skinfolk ain't my kinfolk," which means that you better fight or flight, because so Robin is in the world of, not Robin, excuse me, Jordan is in the world of PR. She's running her own. She's not running her company, but she's running the company where she works at. She's getting these TV shots, these TV deals for everyone.
MSNBC, right? MSNBC, I think.
Something like that. But the higher talent that she once procured for them is now she's off the air. She just wasn't a good fit, and she gets blasted. And so they try to pull her card, and she has this idea because of her homegirl Shelby, who has now quit the housewives and stuff, that she could do that, and all that is all about your media presence and everything like that. So Jordan gets the idea to get a group of women together. Doesn't
for the culture.
Doesn't really get a good hit off the break when they do their little media test run. But then, they come back and Shelby charms them, and now it's a hit. So how do you feel as, because you are a Black woman, you're thriving in success in your job. How do you think that is when you're in that position and you're trying to be the lookout, but also trying to make sure you stay on point and you check somebody when they need to be checked?
Right. Well, we know this is similar to Being Mary Jane, because we know that there came a point in that show where the elderly lady, I'm not gonna say elderly because that's kind of rude, but the news anchor, right? And we've seen it happen in real life. The news anchor who's been around for 10, 15 years, or is doing the entertainment, now no longer kind of resonates with the new generation. So we have to put somebody in there that's going to give us what it is that we actually need. So I think that what I will say is that it's not like she didn't try to give her an opportunity to move elsewhere. She said, okay, well, this show is not working. How about you come on for the culture?
Right.
And that didn't necessarily work out in her favor, or she didn't want to. I believe that was really more the sentiment that she didn't want to do that. Then proceeded to drag Jordan on Twitter. But she gets Shelby to do it. It doesn't work out in Shelby's favor because Shelby is still on housewife mode. And then Jordan says, I'm not going to fire you, but they need more debate team Shelby and not, housewife Shelby. And of course, she's trying to figure out, what if people don't like me? But Q, being the upstanding adult and upstanding husband that he is, says, you are the boss. Okay. Like, they're going to love you, and you got to show them what they don't know about you. That's something I really love, because I think sometimes we want to be we only want people to see us this way when they need to see us this way and this way. You know what I mean? And
then you see
of
all
that,
sides of you.
right? That matters. So one of the biggest things that happens in this episode is that we notice that there's a trend happening with Robin. They're at their book club meeting, her and the girls, and she's trying to say, you know, like, did anybody read this book? And Shelby's like, well, let me guess. The book is about white people treating black people bad, you know. And she's like, yeah, but there's so much more. And this is the beginning of kind of like what we see with her, until it leads to
activism,
excuse me, and her getting arrested with their daughter Mia at a protest. Now, I felt some kind of way watching this scene, and as a child of an activist who was out in the streets, who I've been with, you know, out in the streets with. I've been with my mom when she's protesting, right? But she always made me her top priority, you know, so I've never seen anything too crazy, and she's never been arrested while, you know, when I was a kid, while we were out there. So seeing this scene happen was very interesting, because of course Harper goes down to the police station. First of all, that interaction right there looked a little weird to me anyway. The way he's trying to kind of like reach over to her, but they're walking, you know, Mia and Robin are walking away, maybe unintentionally, but it was just something that I saw. And then they get back to the house, and Harper says, what were you thinking? You had our daughter out there, and she's supposed to be your first priority. And she says, well, I had her taken care of. I had her protected, and we have a right to be out there protesting. We weren't doing anything. We were peaceful. The overall of this scene, what were your thoughts?
Make it end.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I honestly get it's. I get it. And you know, for what it's worth, I do applaud her efforts of it. But it does speak to communication with your spouse when you have children. Because the last thing I don't have children, but I'm just saying, if I did, the last thing I would want is somebody, because we got to remember, Harper is somewhere else having a grand old time when he gets the phone call that
he's at the house. Remember, he comes home and he's thinking that they're there, but then he gets the call and the assistant.
Right. My bad. He had left from somewhere and came home.
Yeah.
But you know, because they had just announced that he was going back to football, and then, you know, he comes back home and he's still off of that. And she's like, well, Mia's okay. And he's like, what do you mean Mia's okay? Where is Robin?
Right.
No parent wants to ever get a call like that.
Right.
And so at this point, I kind of understood where Harper was coming from, because it's like, I understand your mission, but at this point, you put my child in danger. Right. And my child is before your protest. Yeah. So it's just it was just the way that it was delivered. I was just like, okay, yeah, can we end this?
Yeah, I think that is when. So I got notes on that, but so that particular scene rolls into Harper says, "Don't you ever have my daughter out there like that again?" And her response is, "Don't you ever tell me what I can and cannot do with my daughter." Which leads to the next morning. She's cleaning the house, looking for her charger and what have you. She sees notes that Harper has written and says, "Oh, this is so beautiful. You know, I know when you get in your groove like this is all you want. You know, if this is what you're wanting to do." Mind you, we said that previously Robin was very opposed to the new house. It's not in a community-based neighborhood where, you know, with other Black people. She felt like she could just do more where they currently were, and she just didn't need the more that Harper was looking for. But in this particular scene, as we see, she then decides that after reading his notes and asking, you know, him like, "Oh, is this what you're doing?" And him saying, "Yeah." And then she goes, "Well, can you do that in our new house?" I instantly wrote down Malik Yoba and Janet Jackson from Why Did I Get Married?
Yo, very good similarities because Perfect Patty. Very good. Okay, I see
because
what you did.
they never resolved what was going on. They went straight from
it was masked. And that's the problem.
Absolutely.
It was masked. It was never addressed.
Absolutely.
But it was a nice sentiment.
Yeah. So, and that's like you said, Lance announced, because after talking to Jordan, telling him to get his life together,
exactly,
he decides that he wants to go back into football. And that rolls us into episode 4, where he's out there with the youngins, you know, looking like he doing a little something. I ain't gonna lie, the people that they had, like Sports Center, doing, like, talking about him, I thought it was super clever, very fun. I'm just gonna warn the audience right now, guys. Episode 4 is probably the last time we took really good notes, so I just want to forewarn okay, because things got real crazy.
Speak for yourself.
So you got the last 4. I had the first 4. Okay, cool. Listen,
I'm saying is no. I'm saying I didn't get 4. You got notes on 4. I didn't.
Hey, listen, I tried. I really did.
We did. But see, you know what it is? I don't think y'all understand. We get so captivated in what's going on that sometimes you can't take a note. You just got to be in the moment of it. So this, what you about to get is all natural.
Natural. So like we said, episode 4, we got Lance going back. He's at football practice. He's doing really good. And of course he gets hit and he's like, damn, this is what they doing out here now? Like this didn't feel like this back then. But one of the coaches, which I kind of saw coming, says, hey, I got another proposition for you. How would you feel being a coach? You know, or he doesn't say that, but you see the next
that's where it leads to.
That's where it leads to. So I knew that's where it was going. And he has knowledge to give, so why not, right? We have Q looking to get the business out of debt because of COVID, they, you know, lost a lot of money, and based on some new practices that he put into place, they were at a loss, and, you know, in a negative instead of at a positive. So he's looking at this offer. His dad is telling him he's a sellout, basically.
Yes.
And that why would you do that? You know, because this is something that I built with my hands.
My father.
You know, yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. This is the episode where Murch and the girls have this encounter with the police officer and the white woman. And I'm not gonna hold you, I was super pissed off about this because this happens all too often. And I was even, let me tell you who I was pissed off with the most. Can you guess?
Murch,
the cab driver.
You know, I did not even pay attention to him at that point.
Because you knew that they opened the door first, and you also black.
But it's a hustle.
But no, but I think he was just like, what did he say? I think he was like, I'm just trying to get my fare or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah. Because he was like Middle Eastern, I think.
Yeah, or African, one of the two. But I was just like, come on, dude. Like, you not like, you don't see these. The daughter was already in the cab before the dog hops in. Needless to say that this woman's lip is quivering on demand. Okay, because Karen was doing the most. And of course, 2 white police officers in New York City. And I'm from New York. We've heard the stories about New York. NYPD is not. I digress. So essentially, you know, Murch is telling the lady, like, hey, we were here first. She's saying, don't yell at me, don't threaten me, don't touch my dog, and all this other shit. And they decide, he says, you know, the officers are like, oh, she looks really distressed and distraught. You should just let her have the cab and find another one. And ultimately he agrees. And this is when we start going down that you can see the anger boiling in Murch. You can see him getting to that point where he's getting ready to explode because he wants to slap the shit out of this white lady.
And no one will stop him.
Listen,
no one will stop him.
I want to slap her ass too, you know.
I wanted to come through the screen and be like, bitch, what?
Listen, I really did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we have Q and Shelby and Kennedy, because this is a whole family affair now. Kennedy is doing anything she can to get these goddamn bags, and we talked about that, right? Because she wanted, what was it?
Chanel bags. Chanel bags. Y'all.
Child.
Investment.
Not with her telling him it's an investment, because it's one of the most. Listen,
it increases its value.
It increases its value as time goes on.
But
Shelby said, "Hey, listen, she plays like food," and I believe you. I absolutely believe you. But they don't have any real boundaries with Kennedy. She's not really taking Q seriously as her dad.
That part.
So I think that, you know, they're having this moment where it's like, listen, what we gonna do about her? Because she tripping.
Set boundaries, and I think that's the thing he's trying to. I think he's trying to win her over as being a father figure, but also make up for time lost because he wasn't her. He didn't know. I mean, she kept it from him, so it's just like he's just trying to get in where he fit in.
Exactly. Now, of course, Jordan's ex, who also happens to be whatever that guy's name is, I forgot.
Demetrius. What's his name? Silver from Power. Silver. He pops up.
So he pops up.
And he went to college with them, which we did not know.
Yes, he did, because he showed up in the previous episode when Jordan was celebrating the show that she put Shelby on, getting this rating and basically getting the approval to be slated for the upcoming seasons. And so he shows up, he's coming on really strong, popping up outside her door essentially to get her some coffee and takes her to the rooftop to see the sunrise. And you're like, oh, okay, this guy is kind of cool. But what's wrong with him? Because something ain't right? And that's the beginning of their interactions. Now we have Robin, who is quote unquote enjoying the new house, but now also is playing with fire at the new farmer's market as she is over there eyeballing this fine vendor who sells her mushrooms that are quote unquote meaty and juicy.
That's looking like Yahya Abdul-Mateen's little brother.
Because he look good. He's definitely fine. And so of course this, to me, I wasn't sure.
Why with Candace though? Why with Candace?
With Candace, yeah. Come on now. Like, you gotta be discreet. But you shouldn't be doing that shit at all. You know better. You know better. So now at this point we see Q shows up at his dad's house, and not at his dad's house, at the office, and the secretary tells Q, right, that first of all, he said that the dad is not doing good and that he fell twice again this morning, but the whole time she also got paid 3 times, right? Got paid 5 times.
5 times. I think it's 5 times. I can't remember.
And he said that we gonna have to get that money back. And she said, nah, bro, you could just, some Christmas bonus. That's gonna be listen, you ain't getting that money back. I done spent that. Okay. Them gifts gotta be bought. Get out of here.
Not to mention earlier we see, when Quentin and his father had an interaction before, when he called him a sellout, he asked about, what's up with your hand? Because I think either his hand was shaking or it was swollen or something.
Right.
And then when he gets there and he's talking to the secretary, she was like, he failed 3 times already. She was like, what? And and then he puts 2 and 2 together. And, that's when they find out daddy is living,
right, exactly.
Clusterfuck, pretty much.
Exactly.
But let's
go ahead. I'm not you rocking.
No, I was about to say, but let's not also forget that in the midst of all that going on, while Jordan is bossing up at her job, she has her godson LJ as an intern. And telling him, not to be so serious, take it light, because this is episode 4. This is before he switches out
Yeah.
This is before he switches up the game. She's like, don't be so serious or whatever like that. But it's I love the fact that we actually get to see, him focusing on something else, because what his father wants for him, but you see he's really serious about taking it serious, working with his godmother and everything like that. And he takes it to heart when she says, don't be so serious, like loosen up a little bit like that. But to touch back on, because I know you want to, I'm gonna let you lead that way when we go to episode 5. But to touch back on to Quentin and his father, there's a moment that we see with Quentin and Shelby, coming to the house, and he says you can come in, but he can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. But they break in and they see the whole house in disarray, and it's just like, what's been going on? And he was like, if mom was here, she wouldn't know what to do, all this other stuff. So that's when they come up with the plan to try to help him out. And what I love so much about this dynamic is when Shelby first came to the island, when he was getting married to homegirl, his father was so against Shelby, didn't want her around, nothing that. And then they did a complete 180, and they had this great relationship. I don't know. I guess you'd call me a sap. I just love that whole interaction, because the roles definitely do get reversed when you are a child and you have parents that are aging and you got to take care of them. So
absolutely,
that's what I loved about that part. But go ahead and take it away, because
I agree. No, so yeah, basically after that happens, and we won't forget that Grandpa, because makes a connection with Kennedy, and he gets to tell her all these really amazing stories about the chessboard that she found in the house and the pictures, that he's met oh my gosh, his name escapes me. The Sidney Poitier, right?
Yes.
And so that was really dope. And then also it turns around and they trying to figure out where they went, and Kennedy out driving the Benz that grandpa had sit in the driveway.
And do it again.
Yeah, just having a ball. And also in this episode, we won't forget that Candace is having issues with her white professor, who seems to be just constantly critiquing her paper on a different way of life when it comes to medicine. So alternative herbal medicine, not just putting your kids on pills, And so, for me, I feel like that's something that's near and dear to my heart as well, just because I understand how that can really affect a person. I used to have a girlfriend who, unfortunately, she developed a tumor because of birth control, being on birth control for so long. And we don't realize that these things really do cause side effects. But we also know that you can get addicted to drugs that help you with anxiety and such and things like that. So this is a very interesting. So she decides to go to another professor to get a new advisor. Let me rephrase that. She's looking for a new advisor. And one of the professors that she has is an advisor. So she decides to go to him, stakes her claim, and he says, okay, I'll take you on, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be any less hard on you. So we have that. And then, we also have, I think this is when Candace invites him to the party at the house, and he comes to the house, and, Murch is having that moment, still kind of reliving the police incident, and, he's just kind of like ill, because one of the white counterparts said like, this is the bomb or some raggedy shit like that, right? And the professor, the advisor, comes over and says, like, hey, we don't take care of us, who will? So that's a very interesting ending to that episode.
And then also, let's not forget, he also encourages Murch to look outside of dealing with other ways to deal with his stressors. He got to find something for himself, and he's trying to encourage him in that way, and that sparks something in Merch to go ahead and go with it.
Right.
There was something I was going to mention and it escapes me now. Christ. I can't think of it. I literally had it on the tip of my tongue and I lost it just that quick and I cannot remember. But I think this has been the first four episodes were very. It was a good start if you're ready for the rest of the ride. Let me just say that.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think? What would you like to tell them about 5 through? What would you like to give them a brief synopsis of what to expect 5 through 8?
Listen, just buckle up. It's going to be a lot of emotions. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to pause for the cause, okay? I want y'all to soak up 1 through 4, and then we're going to come back and hit y'all with 5 through 8. If you love what you're hearing, let us know. Drop some comments. Again, this is a spoiler review. I know I said that at the beginning, but I just want to make sure that I'm just very clear of what we're doing here. But please drop your comments. If you're like anything like us, we've been following this for a while. We've been waiting for this. We knew it was coming. We're very excited to see such a really amazing Black story come to an end. So yes, stay tuned with us for the next following episode review 5 through 8, and we will see y'all sooner rather than later.